did. And I know that we all destined for greatness, no matter what you've been facing. It's a marathon, no, it's not a sprint. It's for all of the trials and tribulations. Just look at my mom made it. I said I was gonna change it, I did. And I know that we all destined for greatness, no matter what you've been facing. It's a marathon, no, it's not a sprint. Trying to change for the better, oh my city, see the difference. From the mamas to the children, every one of us is gifted.
Good afternoon, the back community. Thank you, as always, for staying involved. Thank you for staying engaged. Welcome back to season 5. Spread love. Today's guest is someone I'm humbly. I got the opportunity to humbly meet last year at a scholarship luncheon for a program that is near and dear to both of our hearts, called Abramson Scholarship Foundation. Actually, today's guest is an alumni of that program as well as she killed the keynote speech last year. But I really want to say that today's guest, before I tell you her formal name in 2 seconds, she radiates positivity through everything that she does, and you'll be able to see that and understand what I know already by the time we get through today's interview. Without further ado, today's guest is actually going to be Yasmine Arrington Brooks. And I'm going to be calling her affectionately Yazzie throughout this interview, as she likes to be called as well. So, Yaz, I just want to say thank you for being on the back community, and I can't wait to dive into your story.
Thank you, Tyrell, for having me on the back community. I'm ready. I'm fired up. I'm excited for this conversation.
Let's go. Let's go. Hey, listen, man. I always tell everybody I try my best to give the best introductions. I don't always do it justice, but nobody can do us justice when we and how we can introduce ourselves. I'm sure there's things that you are passionate about that you need us to know, and I'm going to start you off with your first official question on the show. Yaz, who is Yasmine Arrington Brooks, and what is it that you do? Here's your
Gotcha.
opportunity to introduce yourself.
Now, you know that's a loaded question, right?
She said, which part? Which part?
Right. But anyway, hi, friends. My name is Yasmine Arrington Brooks, as Tyrell mentioned, but I'm affectionately known to many as Yazzie or Yazzie Speaks, or sometimes people call me Yaz. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., in the city, and I still live here, which is pretty cool, and it's rare. I am the founder and executive director of the DC-based nonprofit called ScholarCHIPS. The CHIPS is an imperfect acronym for children of or children with incarcerated parents. And I'm sure Tyrell and I will delve into that deeper. But, in a nutshell, we provide supports to college-bound young adults who have incarcerated parents who are pursuing, higher education. Um, I think that's pretty much. There's more, but I think I'll stop there for now.
Well, it's a couple of things I'm gonna pick at. I'm gonna pick at
Sure.
Greek life. I think
Oh
somebody
well.
just celebrated a Founder's Day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I know
Uh,
y'all. Yes, I'm a Zeta.
there you go, Miss Z5B here, and then also I think that you went to the same school for seminary school as my pastor. Shout out to Reverend Watley, who also went to Howard Seminary School too,
Yes, yeah.
and my wife went there for law school.
Reverend Wiley's a powerful. I love listening to him and his sermons. Like, he very very anointed.
Who you telling? Who you telling?
Very
Listen,
anointed.
that is my guy. On top of the fact, he's my frat brother, but that is my guy.
I
And
see.
and we grow, as he likes to say, we have a place where we are learning and growing in God, and we've been there since 2013, and I love that church.
Nice.
So shout out to you,
Nice.
Watley.
That's
But yeah, so I
awesome.
know you got a whole lot that makes up the entire package of who Yaz is, and that's one of the things that drew me to you, seeing how passionately you advocate for the population of people that you work with, because incarcerated individuals, or returned citizens, as some people call them when they come home as well, is a population of people that is very near and dear to myself as well. I've
I
happened to
see.
had family members close to me and close friends who have been in and out of the jail system my entire life. And one of my closest friends just came home from doing 23 years in jail. So, and to see how those types of dynamics affect children is very important. So when you hear about the work that you're doing with ScholarCHIPS, it's very important to bring awareness to that particular population. But I have to ask, what was it about children who have incarcerated parents that resonated with you so much that wanted you to create this particular foundation and organization?
Yeah, that's an excellent that's an excellent question, Tyrell. For me, there were a couple of things that were happening in my life at the same time, and into how ScholarCHIPS came about. When I was a junior in high school, and my maternal grandmother, my mom's mom, was the one who was raising me, because my dad was incarcerated. I mean, he's really just, similar to what you shared in terms of some of your family members. My own father was in and out of jail and prison. And so he really wasn't, I wasn't raised with my dad, I just wasn't. And then my mom, I was raised with her while she was living, but she passed when I was 13, when I had just started high school. So my grandmother was mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. She was holding down the fort. And my grandmother was a big advocate of education, and she was the one who taught me how to read and write when I was very young. And she was the one who helped to guide me and was supporting me as I was researching colleges, applying for universities, looking for scholarships. And so as we were going through this scholarship, research process, my grandmother made an interesting observation. She said, Yasmine, there are so many scholarships out here. Like, they have scholarships for military, families in the military. They've got scholarships for young people who make their prom dresses out of duct tape. Like, they've got like all of these, creative, awesome niche scholarships. But she noticed that they didn't have any scholarships for young people who had incarcerated parents. So that was the aha moment. And I just kind of kept that in the back of my mind. And at the same time, I was also a Girl Scout. And I was also in an extracurricular program after school called Learn Serve International. And so when I was going to Learn Serve, they were teaching us about social entrepreneurship and helping us to realize that even as a teenager, that we had agency, that we had the ability and the capability to make positive change within our community, within our world, even then. And they, opened up the door. And so we had to pitch, we had to identify a social issue that, bothered us, or that we wanted to see some change or improvement. So for me, I identified mass incarceration, pardon me. And then we had to do research on that topic, and almost like, basically it was like we were creating a business plan, but we were putting down the foundation and the building blocks. And so as we were doing this research, I saw these, like, to me, they were I'm gonna call them wild statistics. Like, I saw one statistic that over 2.5 million young people in the United States alone have an incarcerated parent. And now there are some statistics that say there are 5 million people in the United States where, between the ages of, when they were first born to, let's say, 18 years old, that they had an incarcerated parent. That's a lot of people. So I was like, wait a minute. It was like that light bulb was going off with me at 15 years old. I'm like, so there are lots of other young people, or people in this country, who are experiencing this, right? And then I started, like, researching some of the, I won't get too deep into it, but like some of the injustices that happens within the prison system, and how they're basically a lot of folks who are incarcerated are used almost as a labor force, to make a lot of products, and they're only getting paid like cents on the hour. So these types of things I was learning about. And so the question became, well, what can I do to help to solve it? And so that's how ScholarCHIPS came about. Was I was going to college, but I had an incarcerated parent and I needed community, which I found through, the Abramson Scholarship Foundation, and lots of other organizations, whether it was school activities, Girl Scouts. And so I basically, what we ended up doing was creating a safe space and community for young people, specifically who have incarcerated parents who are pursuing higher education. And, we can talk more about that, but it's a long story, but I think it's important just there was like a chronology into how ScholarCHIPS came about. So.
Okay, and I like it because it tells it like I'm in the business of telling stories, right? And we all have a story, and I think that sometimes we are frightened by our story. We're frightened by our story so much that we don't end up telling our story, right? And I remember reading Michelle Obama, just to go off on a quick tangent. I remember
Yeah.
reading her book, and
Which
she
one
talks
is
about.
it? Is it Becoming?
I
She
can't
has like
remember. It
two.
was either the light or it was becoming. I think it might have been the light. It might have been the light.
Mhm. The light we carry.
The light that we carry. Might have been the light that we carry. But I read them both, loved them both. But in one of them, I think it was the light that we carry. But she spoke about what was it becoming?
I'm sorry,
Now I
I
messed
didn't
up.
mean to.
No. It's fine. Which one of them? Excuse me. Miss Michelle Obama. Because both of them were great. But she talked about a student. I mean, someone that she brought into her administration
Oh, I
who
know
had.
exactly who you're talking about. China.
Okay,
I met her.
there you go. Yes, there you go. So, and when I read it, it was just like she hid that she had a parent incarcerated because she thought that it was going to negatively affect her so much, right? And oftentimes, for a lot of us, we end up being shamed, not so much even from our own decisions, but just by being in proximity to somebody who might be going through a circumstance that's considered to be negative to everyone else. But what I've learned over the years is that the more I've leaned into my story and my own authenticity, it has become my own superpower. And that's what I hear in your story. Just like you took something that was extremely harsh, meaning that, to have a loved one continue to go in and out of prison, to lose your mom at going into high school, right? But it was just like, well, how can I be the change or the support system that I needed? And I think that the more people start to tap into their own story and realize that we shouldn't be what is it we shouldn't be afraid of some of the things that might come off as negatives, because what ends up our experiences become very valuable when we channel them correctly and could help so many other people. And so I loved that aspect of your story, because like you said, having an incarcerated loved one, family friend is it's a lot more common than what people think of, and it's not just limited to Black and Brown communities
There you
either.
go. Yes.
Incarceration is huge, and we need to have a space to talk about it and to process it and to take away the stigma of it. Because sometimes, if you think about in the NFL right now, you have a quarterback in the Houston, Texas quarterback, where his dad is currently
CJ
CJ.
Stroud. CJ
You
Stroud.
know,
Hey,
yeah.
hey, CJ Stroud. We trying to, with the Stroud Foundation, we love to partner.
There you
Shameless
go.
plug, right?
No, but it's necessary, because in 10 minutes we've already talked about two prolific individuals, right, who have a direct tie and correlation to the reason why ScholarCHIPS was created. And it's important to get it out there and to take away the stigma of having these conversations around it, but to empower the kids to take what is considered to be a negative and turn it into a positive. So, I was blown away to hear about it and what you were doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Tyrell.
Yeah,
And
and
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. Absolutely. Us, it's kind of almost like taking your power back. where, some of the things that some of us have been through in life, you know, in this the society we live in, sometimes there's this shame or embarrassment or taboo, as you mentioned, and incarceration, having an incarcerated parent or family member, or having been yourself is still in some ways very taboo. But as you mentioned, it's much more common than I think a lot of us even know or realize. And so what I have found is, in sharing my story, it has given you, there's a saying that says, when you, I might be paraphrasing a little bit, but when you shine your light, you give others permission to do the same. So
Mhm.
that is literally what I've seen, because we started off with eight students. We've now supported over 100 students,
Nice.
46 of them, and it's all honor, glory to God. 46 have graduated from college. We're serving another 44. We need more the resources. I know they're coming. It's very
Mm.
challenging, but it's so worth it. And when they get together, when they see each other, when they connect, it's like, it's almost as if we've all been here before and we all knew each other, but it really is family. And so the way I explain it is, we have our blood family, like the family we're born into, but we also have our soul family, or however you want to say, soul tribe, soul family. And that is what scholarships is for these young people and their families.
Yep, yep. And I'm glad you just added that last part too, because most people only identify with the individual themselves that are incarcerated. But when you are so closely aligned, you realize that it's not just the incarcerated person that is going through the experience, right? So, of course, physically, it's only the one person, but you think about everybody else that is aligned to that person, and you think about how not having someone present shows up, and stuff like that. So it's a
Yeah.
much larger piece and conversation on it, and it's making me
Yes.
think about a piece that a friend of mine, you might know her too, Erica Chapman. They had a project that they worked on called Daughters, right? And it was about
Oh,
daughters.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes. I
yeah,
saw that documentary.
yeah.
Ooh, I'm gonna be honest, Tyrell, that was hard for me to watch.
Mm.
Because it was like I was seeing myself as a little girl. That one was a tough one. I'm gonna tell
Mm.
you.
Listen, it talking to you is, and I'm a big connector. If I had a superpower, it would be connecting, So, but in talking to you, it's helping me to draw the stories elsewhere that I keep seeing it. Whether it's CJ, whether it's like I said, Erica, and what they were doing on that project with daughters. Whether it
It
is
sounds
China.
like we need to have a conference, huh?
Absolutely.
I'm here
Absolutely.
for it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, the back community conference and having anyway.
Listen, and I just had a close friend of mine who just came home from doing 10 years, and he is now into youth work and engagement in New York. But he
Oh
just came to
wow.
DC and met Brian Stevenson. And he was just like, Tyrell, it changed my life. He's just like, listen, I love his work and what he's
I
doing.
love
And
Brian
he's so passionate
Stevenson.
about it. And, so we need these spaces because uh, I think the young adults that go through these experiences are going to be some of the most gifted people that you'll ever meet in your life.
Yes.
The difference
Yes.
is, a person being patient enough to believe in them long enough until they start to create their own confidence. And I was similar. I got kicked out of high school. I did everything from, yeah, I got kicked out of high school. I was hustling. I got kicked out of high school for a knife. And I can say it now in retrospect, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because at the time, I'm running the streets, and I don't have a future for my life other than what my community dictates at the time. And it's like, okay, well, this is what we do. This is it. Who's talking about
Mhm.
going to college and stuff like that. And when I got kicked out of school, I say now that it was one of the best things that happened to me because it forced me to take accountability for my life and my life's trajectory at that point. Like I
Mm.
couldn't point the finger elsewhere, be like, well, I'm just supposed to be here. This is gonna be it. It's just like, actually, you know what? I don't want to be here. And I got to
Mhm.
figure out something different. And then I got a scholarship to move to Charlotte, North Carolina, went to Johnson C. Smith and changed my life. So,
Wow,
you know.
that's an amazing story. And I know that was just the tip of the iceberg, but it sounds like that was sort of a wake-up call for you, or as I call a sit down.
Mm.
You know, God will sit us down sometimes,
Mhm.
but sometimes it may be painful. You know, it can be a painstaking process, but we're grateful for those moments because matter of fact, and I won't, you know, I'll just say this: one of our scholars, and he's graduated from college, and he's been, I mean, he has just been very successful, and he's going up the ladder, right? And then, you know, long story short, I got a text from him, and he's saying that he is at a what do you call it? Something like I've never heard the term before, like a transition center or something like that. He was like, I was detained and
Yep.
the third, but he was saying that and I don't know, it's none of my business. It's really not. I don't know what led him to that point. Um, but I could tell that, you know, he was just saying that this has actually been helpful for me because I've been able to sit and think and pray and hear God speaking to me. And I was just encouraging him. I said, yes, keep doing that, keep praying, keep seeking, you know, about your future, you know, what your purpose is and what your next steps are, and you know, to reveal hidden enemies, like things like that. And
Mhm.
so honestly, I mean, I'm saying, using the word community, and this scholarships is a community, it is a family, but even also another layer on that, it's also ministry as well.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like helping people to see their greatness and see that it doesn't matter what you've been through, what you've done, you know, those kinds of things, that you can still be redeemed, and that there's a purpose even in that, right. So anyway, I don't want to
No, no, no. It's the
go
truth. I mean, think
on.
about it. Even in the Bible, most of the when you look at the stories of who God has chosen to use, right? It also makes you realize that you can be qualified if you answer the call, right?
Oh,
And
oh,
so
that's a quote. That's a quote.
yeah.
That's a
You're
quote,
like, listen,
Tyrell.
man,
Yes.
God is gonna, he's not looking for us to be perfect. And he's looking for us to be one, relatable, and to be able to be in a posture to be used. And I have to ask, like, you know, how does it feel for you, being the executive director of your own program now, but actually being the change that you knew that you needed in a way that is tangible? You can see it. Like you said, you got 40 plus kids already, and you already know that the door is opening up now for more. But how has it felt for you being the change that you once needed?
Yeah. That's an amazing question, Tyrell. And I'm gonna be honest, because it's twofold. It's a double-edged sword. It really is. So of course, you know, the short answer is honestly, it's an indescribable feeling. It really, I mean, it's an amazing feeling, but it's indescribable because there's a sense of fulfillment, there's a sense of peace and joy that come from knowing that just, and sometimes it's not even, I mean, there are extra things that we do. I mean, we have the scholarships, the book awards, mental health supports, mentoring, professional development workshops, emergent, you know, we give emergency funds, laptops, all these different things. But sometimes even though those things help, sometimes it's just the presence, like, you know, and I'm not, and I say this from a humble place, but like being in their lives, and like you said, having the opportunity to be what I needed. And like when I was their age and when I was in college, because there were moments, and I'm trying not, I'm really trying not to just, bawl out, start crying, but there were times where, and I'm grateful even through those things, but those moments where I felt alone, or I felt like, man, I can't get through this, or how am I going to get through this? And just to be able to encourage them, and sometimes they pick up the phone and call me, or texting or audio message, whatever, how that makes a difference, and just watching them grow. And it's almost like a parent, like you love your
Facts.
children so much, and they're so precious. You don't want anything to harm them. You don't want to see them cry, and that you don't want to see them hurt, that kind of thing. So it feels like that. But I will say this, and I would be remiss if I didn't say this. Not everybody, not everyone is happy about what it is that I'm doing.
Mm.
And
Mm.
there are some who do not appreciate it, or I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but there's two sides to it. And so I've just had to be okay. There's a book, and I actually haven't read it. It's called something like The Courage to Be Disliked.
Mm.
And so me being like this, and again, I say this very humbly, I am learning that I have a lot of, and it's only it's Holy Spirit power, but it's powerful. And like, it's almost like either you love it or you hate it.
Mm.
And the hate, and like some stuff comes out of nowhere, or there'll be gatekeeping where I'm like, why are you gatekeeping like this? You don't see the value
Mm.
in this, like you don't want to be a part of this, like what is happening? This is not making any sense. But sometimes people are fearful of that light or that power, and if they don't understand it, they may be curious about it, or they may want to know more about it, but at the same time, it can kind of unintentionally, it can provoke insecurity, it can provoke jealousy, it can. And so I just I say, okay, Lord, I just want to focus on the people you've called me to serve. And hopefully those who are watching or feeling some type, hopefully they'll come around, or maybe there's a lesson in it, so.
I'm glad you brought it up though, because most people wouldn't even consider that there's a negative to it. It said, how can there be a negative when you're only doing positivity, right? But
It almost, sometimes it comes more,
yeah, listen.
as they say, like a moth to a flame, like
Hmm.
you will attract other positive people like yourself, but then sometimes it comes with the territory. Sometimes, you attract wolves in sheep's clothing.
Mm. It goes back to something you said a couple of minutes ago, though, about it being a ministry, though, and I was thankful that you put it that way, because doing this work is a selfless work in a lot of ways, which is one of the reasons why, it wasn't sustainable enough for me. Running my own charitable organization for 9 years, I realized how important it is to constantly be on the fight and the hunt to do good work and to get people's
Like buy-in
donations
and
and
stuff. Yep.
buy-in, right?
It's
But
ongoing.
it's ongoing and it's draining, but it's also like, there's also a lot of other organizations that are doing great work, and it hate you it always it's a sucky feeling to be up against other organizations, rather than it being enough for each of these organizations doing really good work to be able to have sustainability, right? But there's negativity too, right? Some people are not going to see it the way that you do, but what I'm going to tell you for encouragement and to do what you're doing already. What I am going to say is this: is that what God has for you, Yaz, is destined and strategically only designed for you, right? And it's not for everybody else to see the vision, and it's also not for us to force it upon everybody else. The movie The Field of Dreams is something that is a story that I use every time I'm trying to explain something new to somebody else. And I'm just like, listen, I have this idea, and I believe God put it on my heart to go ahead and create this idea. And this is what I'm going to run with it. Some of them might sound crazy. I remember telling my mom at the time, after it might have been like I was a year out of undergrad, and I'm just like, listen, if I'm spending this amount of time working, my first job was doing mediation for family court and stuff like that. And I'm
Oh,
just like,
wow.
yeah, and I'm just like, I'm spending all of this time here, but I feel like, I mean, I'm not passionate about that. I can be spending this amount of time into what it is that I am passionate about, which was always, I always wanted to start my own business that worked with the youth, empowering them. And that's how I started my first nonprofit. But I remember my mom just like, she's like, listen, don't leave that job. Don't do that or whatever, right? And I understand from where she was coming from because it was a place of stability, but at the time I also chased my passion. So what I learned from that experience was that, sometimes it's best to chase stability and then do the things that you're passionate about, so that way your success is not ultimately tied into that. Some people might not like that approach because they say you got to be all in, but I've done that too, and I've realized it, that and I tell my niece the same thing. I said, listen, I don't like my job. I got her a job at the same spot where I work at. She's like, I'm
Mhm.
not passionate about this. I'm like, girl, it ain't about chasing your passion all the time, but it is about being able to be stable. When you come from instability, you want to be able to create
Yeah,
stability.
yeah.
And so there's so many aspects of it, and it's always up against, some of it isn't positive. Yeah, so some people are just going to be like, well, I feel you're stepping on my feet by what you're doing. I already got an organization that's doing this, and won't you do this? But God didn't give that to them. He gave the vision for the work that you're doing to you.
Mhm.
And in those moments, because there will be times where you are depleted and frustrated, as long as you keep feeling that God is calling you to do the work that you're doing, it might not be in massive numbers, but the people that you are touching and affecting are going to go on to create and touch somebody else. And eventually you're going to land up exactly where you are destined to be and designed to be. So, that's just
Amen.
my word to stay encouraged.
I received that, Tyrell. Thank you for that. Thanks for it flows out of you. The encouragement, and I really needed to hear that. And some of these things we know, right? But it's always helpful to have that affirmation, or
Mm.
it's a word I'm looking for, and I can't call it for some reason, but a confirmation, affirmation,
Absolutely.
confirmation. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm, don't get me wrong, like I don't allow I don't allow negative, I mean I can't, because I'm sold out for Christ. And in this world, and he's been revealing a lot. I'm trying not to go too deep, but he's been just revealing a lot of things to me over the last, especially since the pandemic, since
Mm.
2020. It just like everything sort of flipped upside down. And it's a lot of people that are sold out for evil and for destruction. But for those of us who are building for the kingdom and doing positive things, we gotta, you gotta choose, and you gotta, once you pick it up and you like, hey, I'm gonna run with whatever that looks like. And of course, it doesn't have to be nonprofit work. It does not necessarily philanthropy. We need positive folks, and we need us in corporate and in
Mm.
government, and Lord knows we need us in government. And like we need
Absolutely.
us in every sector of life and society, and wherever it is. So, I mean, this is just my little, this is my whatever you want to call it. I don't know, land fee, whatever you want to call it. So,
It's your ministry. It's the area in which God is using you for at this particular season. I mean, Ecclesiastes will tell you it's a season for everything, right? So in this particular season, it might not be every season, because I know you got a lot on your plate, Miss CNN hero, and
let's see if they invite me back. Let's see.
So, but God might just be using you in this season to do that. And that's one of the things that I had to learn for myself too. Just like be open and keep yourself in a posture of being used. You'll always be exactly where you're supposed to be.
That's
And,
right.
and uh I think that, the impact that you're having not just on the youth that you're working with, but on their families, right? You are a living, breathing example of what can happen when you breathe life into
Mhm.
an individual, and that's what makes it so important. And you need the support, which is going to lead me to this next thing, because I know that there was this amazing opportunity that scholarships just had, right? And you guys were all over. I want to say Fox 5 down here in the DC area, and stuff like that, kicking off um, an opportunity and a donation with an NBA legend and great called Irvin Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that and what that opportunity would do to set up a ScholarCHIPS and all the other initiatives and endeavors that you have in the queue.
Absolutely. So in order to tell the story, I got to go back just a little bit, just a
Mhm.
little bit. So how this and it's I just marvel, like I marvel at Abba Father. Like it is just, I mean, this is at this point we are beyond, what they say, God's plans are beyond our wildest imagination, beyond our wildest dreams, and that is, I mean, he's keeping me grounded, for sure. But this right here is something I really couldn't have imagined. So this was back, CNN Heroes was in 2023. And I made the top 10 CNN here because there's more. Like every year they select about 20. They do lots of
Mhm.
stories on everyday people doing extraordinary things. And I made the top 10. That show aired in December. It was like December 10th of 2023. Then what happened was I started getting calls and emails and all of this from daytime talk shows, and one of them, yeah, because they have big teams and they have producers and they have people who, aside from the celebrities that they have on a regular basis, for other stories like everyday people stories, they do research. And so one of those sites they visit sometimes is CNN. And so they found me and my story and the CNN Heroes piece. And so I ultimately ended up on the Drew Barrymore show. And this
Mm.
was in April. This was like April of 2024. As that process, and it takes months, sometimes weeks and months, for them to schedule the show and to get information from you and all this kind of stuff. So one of the questions they asked me was, who are some of your idols, or well, maybe I shouldn't use that word, but like people that I look up to. And so one of them I mentioned was Magic Johnson. I was like, he's at the top of the list. And so what they did was, when Drew had me on the show, they surprised me, and they on the screen. Now it would have been cool if he was there in person, but
Mm.
you could get. And so he did a video. uh I don't even know what you call it, but it was a pop-up, and he was talking directly to me. And he said, Yasmine, congratulations. He was like, I love what you're doing with ScholarCHIPS. And he said, you helping kids to go to college and using your platform for positivity. And he was like, with his philanthropy, he said, I do the same thing. And I was like, I was going like this.
Is that I know?
Yeah, yeah, like, yeah, that's why we called you. And so that was a big pivotal moment. And what I did was, now they had the, like with those shows, they keep an archive, but I recorded it. When it aired, I recorded it on my phone. I'm the queen of screen record, so I have the receipts. I got the receipts. And so one of the things he said was, Yasmine, well, he said, however I can help, whatever I can do, however I can help, let me know. I said, oh, bet, I got you. I got you. And so what I did was I was on a hunt. I was on a hunt because the Drew Barrymore show, like they didn't, because I'm just not right now, I'm not in the upper echelons of society. And so when you're not in certain circles, you can't just pick up the phone and call somebody, you know, because of course they have levels, they have, you know, their gatekeepers and all that stuff. So I was on the hunt. I said, I've got to find someone. I've got to find somebody I can contact in one of his offices to see if we can follow up. And so that happened through LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn is a wonderful networking tool.
Absolutely.
And the funny thing is, and I just noted as God, because the lady said, oh yes, I know. She was like, oh yeah, I know about the show. She said, I'm the one who orchestrated that, like to had him to record the video. So I just started to cultivate a relationship with Magic Johnson Enterprises. And fast forward, I had not too long, maybe a year, 2 years ago, I learned about My Cause, My Cleats. But you really can't, it's hard to break into that NFL circuit if you don't have a shoe in, or if you don't have someone, you know, if you don't have a contact, it's hard to, it can be difficult to sort of break through. But I now had this lead with Magic Johnson Enterprises. And of course, as we all know, he's now one of the co-owners with Josh Harris and the whole team of the Commanders. And I'm like, you know, I grew up, I mean, I literally grew up in Commanders socks as a little kid, you know, like this is our home team. And of course, now seeing them in the NFC Championship, that has not happened. It did not happen. It has not happened since before I was born. And I was born in 93. So I'm like, this is what this feels like. Like, this is amazing. So anyway, I say all that to say, I just asked. I just asked. I said, you know, I know that My Cause, My Cleats it's an NFL initiative, and every team does this once a year, and it's an auction. It's a short auction. This one only lasted for 10 days. And some of the players will wear custom cleats. A lot of times they'll represent their own foundations, but sometimes they'll represent other social issues to bring awareness. But the coaches and the the coaches and the owners do it also. So Magic Johnson agreed, and he and his team created a custom tennis shoe for ScholarCHIPS. And so what he picked was, and you could say, like, it's just that swag, right? So everybody else had, you know, the players of course have cleats, and then some of the other owners and stuff, they had different types of tennis shoes. But Magic Johnson had a Air Force One high top. And they painted it, like, you know, with ScholarCHIPS colors, green, you know, they painted green. Of course, they had the white, and it said it has dream big on it. And it's got two hands holding, like, you know, I guess to represent mentorship and community and family, like all of those things that we do and represent. And it went up on auction. Like I said, it was only a 10-day auction. And when I tell you, we promoted that thing, we had flyers, we had videos and all of that. And you know, the auction it ultimately raised $850. Like, that was the highest bid. However, you know, I've been communicating with both sides and letting them know, but I put out there that I wanted to raise $1 million for ScholarCHIPS. And it's not about greed. It's not about money. It's not, I mean, we need money and resources in order to do the work, period. And ScholarCHIPS really needs an endowment. And so a lot of these foundations that were founded by, you know, wealthy individuals, their foundations are still existing to this day, largely in part because they have an endowment. So I have not heard anything. I'm just optimistic. They know ScholarCHIPS. They know who we are. I know they had to vet us and research us and make sure we were legit before he put his name, you know, in association with ScholarCHIPS. And so I don't know what's next. They might drop us like a hot potato. or who knows, you know what I mean? But the possibilities are endless, but I'm just very grateful just for doing those two things is huge. It's very huge.
Listen, to take a leap of faith as huge as that one is what some people never do in a lifetime. And you only did it in such a short period of time. And it's only one thing, a blimp on the larger things that I see on the horizon for you. And I'm saying that because I
Mm,
honestly feel it. Anyone who knows me knows that, Ty ain't gonna tell you nothing unless this is how I feel. So it's a small blimp on the things that are gonna be in your path. But it's a huge one too, because like you said, being able to meet individuals who can open up the doors for you in those capacities is what is the breaking point that most of us need, and it's really hard to create that network. So that's why I live off of a thing called audit your circle, right? I believe in having people around me that one have a genuine interest in seeing others do well,
yes.
whether that's us within the circle or others in the community, right? And if you keep yourself aligned to the right people, it's only a matter of time before you end up exactly in the right place, in the right room, talking to the right ear that's going to open up all of these doors for scholarships the way that you want to see it. And that's just one
Amen.
avenue, because there's so many different things that you do that. And we're doing a seminar right now called Multiple Streams of Income at the church, right? So there's so many different things that you do that are different avenues and different streams for you, right? You got modeling, right, which is one. So you can open up so many different opportunities with modeling, and also being able to connect with a population of individuals who want to get into that bag. You can also get into Yazzie Speaks, and how you are able to go ahead and speak at different speak on different platforms about how you have grown to be who you are, and why it is important to invest in individuals just like yourself,
Mm,
right? So then, like I said, you talk about going to the School of Divinity, right? And you talk about this ministry with scholarships that you're doing, which is a huge one. But there's so many different streams, I like to call it right now, because I'm big on finances. So multiple streams of income and different ways or different paths that are going to ultimately funnel back in through scholarships to get it exactly where it needs to be. All you got to continue to do is trust that what God has placed within you and on your heart is for a reason and is of substance, and don't give up even when you hear the naysayers, right? So all you got
mm,
to do is outlast them. They're always going to be there. So all you got to do is outlast them, and the best way to outlast them is just stay consistent at your own pace and never be in competition with anybody and anybody else. 'Cause what's for you will be for
mm.
you. So
Tyrell, oh my goodness. I'm on the inside, I'm running around. Like I'm
yeah.
running around the room like, yeah, no, but thank you. I needed to hear that. You don't even you don't even know.
Listen, I need three more things from you before I let you go.
Sure.
I need three things from you. One of them is, it's probably my favorite question I like to ask everyone on the back community in 5 seasons, but I'm really interested to hear your spin and take on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be, when you hear the word success, right? What does success mean to you? How would you define success?
That's a yummy question. I love this question, by the way. I love this question. Success for me, and it took me some time to find this answer for myself. Success for me is having real love. And for me, that's threefold, being connected with the creator's love,
Mhm.
having that inner love, which is a result of that relationship, and then the blessing of having uh true love in a marriage covenant.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying that for people who aren't yet married, or I'm not saying if they're not married that they can't have that, but I'm just saying for me, true love, I look at it in those like three facets. And then, family. So definitely having true love, because I know what it feels like to not love yourself, or like, or just to be in a place where you just feel empty, you feel bad about yourself, or like, that kind of thing. So when I finally connected with God in a real way, like with our own relationship, then that is when he began to reveal to me like how much he loves me, and like that type of thing. And you can't find it in the world. I'm sorry.
Facts.
You can't, like, you're just not going to, no matter how much you search. And so that part of my duty now is to help people to wake up to that, of all ages. And then success also is health. Having being in a clear, a sound state of mind, and having health, like being able to move your body, and go travel, like do things, and get up and do the stuff. Because if you don't have health,
Nothing.
you really don't. It don't matter. You can have all the money in the world, but if you can't do enough, can't spend it, can't travel, can't do anything, then you really don't have anything. So that's what success is. I think anything beyond that is just like icing on the cake. That's how I feel.
Okay. And has that always been your stance on success, or has it
No,
evolved? And if it has
it,
evolved, what was the catalyst for the evolution of that definition?
it's evolved. It's evolved.
Okay.
So what God allowed me to see, not that I ever got up there like on certain levels, but like, for example, with the modeling,
Mm-hmm.
from the outside looking in, a lot of things look glamorous,
Mm-hmm.
but there's so much behind the curtain that you don't know until you get there. And then it's like, hold up. So for example, like the pay, I was thinking, oh, like in a young person's mindset, oh yeah, I'm gonna get the bag, and I'm gonna be this, and I'm gonna be rich, and this and that. Not that I was never chasing money anyway, but I thought, for me, I thought success was having name recognition, having face recognition, like just being everywhere. And that's kind of like how I thought success, and of course, the finances to go with that. But as I was going more and more through life, I just started to realize, like, some of this stuff is smoke and mirrors. Like, if you can, my thing is, I learned that you can have all of the things. You can get to a point where you have all the clothes, you got that big walk-in closet that I'm still praying for. But that big old walk-in closet, you got all your colors and your jewelry and your shoes, you got the cars, you got the ladies, the guys, they calling you here, they flying you here, and all that, and you can still be miserable.
Correct.
And so I was like, no, this is not, like, I like being happy. I like being joyful. I like just laughing, like just playing around and laughing. And so I don't know. I just got to a point where I was traveling back and forth to New York. I was getting booked at Ashley Stewart and like these well-known brands, but it wasn't what I thought it was. But it also, when I look over my life, I don't, like, yes, the degrees they have their place, the education, that's important. But to me, that success is being able to come home to a loving family, being able to have peace in my home, being able to to do what I enjoy doing, even though there's lots of days where the bank account is like looking at me like I'm looking at they looking at we looking at each other like I
You
don't
said,
know.
man, you better
I,
get out here and do some more modeling. It was you,
but
home and being
the
happy.
funny thing that you say that, and I do believe God has a purpose for me even with that. I had to walk away from it. Like I mean, I will still do photo shoots for, like professional and promo and to update my headshots. But I had to walk away from that industry because I wasn't willing to, it's just certain things I wasn't willing to do. And it was miserable. Like I was like, I don't, and plus, by the way, I don't want an agency to, and sometimes I think depending on the level you get, you do have to have some type of agent or agency or representation. But I'm like, hold up, this is all y'all doing, and you getting 20% and you getting my fees. Child, I could be doing this myself. So and I have a dream of, and I'm okay with sharing this. I want to have a boutique and like and make, I may not be making the clothes, but I want to design clothes and all that stuff. So and then like you've probably seen scholarships. We just did our first fashion show. We had 30 models, male and female, from ages 21 to 70. So I'm like, okay, it could be, it's something that could happen, but it's just everything just is not happening at once. I'm just building like, okay, a block here, a block here, a block.
Okay, all right. Keep building those blocks until they all come together. Keep building those blocks until they all come together because they definitely will. And like I said, as long as you're willing to pivot, you'll always be used right when you're supposed to. And this experience, I read a book one time by Meg Jay. What is it? The Defining Decade, right? And she talks about how these experiences that we think are, um, not worth anything, what ends up happening is that it becomes very valuable. She called it identity capital. So it'll be like those opportunities that you're taking advantage of that don't turn out to be anything at that particular moment, but the experience that you got from it is going to help you to navigate a season later in life that now you're going to be able to skillfully help somebody else navigate through as well, and you become the expert on it because you have been building this thing called identity capital, where some people are just scared to take chances. They are constantly waiting for the perfect situation, and there's no such thing as that. So you are building identity capital. You're gonna have a lot of, and you already have a lot of identity capital. And like I said, man, just continue to be patient enough to continue to show up how God is intending you to show up. Let that happen. And I got to ask you this
Sure.
because I think that in today's world, it might be something that, everyone is encouraging other people to do. You got platforms like Earn Your Leisure. Shout out to my guys, Earn Your Leisure.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, I've heard about you guys are friends?
Yeah, well, Rashad used to be one of our financial advisors for a while too, but that was
Nice.
way before they blew up. So they
Nice,
so
nice.
so
I've seen some of their stuff on
yeah.
on like Instagram and all that. That's awesome.
So I say it to say this part of it is just that when uh I might have lost it too.
Sorry.
Uh, yeah, it's okay. I think whatever it was, maybe it wasn't intended for me to go there, but I was just about to say that we end up teaching financial literacy now because it's such a huge part of, especially in the Hughes household, of how we live and how we operate. We went through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University with our church.
Okay.
And, so
Wow.
finances is really, really big. But I just think that the more that you continue tap into the God-given talents that you have. When the right opportunity presents itself, all your identity capital that you've been building is really going to turn into something very profitable. Your story is going to turn into something profitable. And my ear is somewhat itching and buzzing because
Interesting.
I might have heard through something in my ear that
So silly.
there is something potentially in the works where um, all of the rest of the world might be able to hear in depth your story, your struggle, and your inspiration to the world. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Wow, Tyrone. I'm trying not to cry. Yeah, so it's happening. I am working, I'm writing, and I'm not using a ghostwriter. I'm not using AI. This is me. So I'm putting my English and Stratcoms degrees to work, and I'm writing my first book, which is my memoir. And
Let's
I'll be
go.
sharing a lot. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. So the plan is it'll be out this year. The plan is to have it out in about May or June of 2025. And yeah, I'm excited. This is uh I know that whoever it's for, that they're going to receive it. But I'm going to stress to people, this is not one of those books that you say, yeah, I'm going to read it, and you put on the shelf and it just collects dust. Like, even if you have to just read one chapter a week, a month, do it, because once you pick it up, but it's really I think it's gonna help some people to realize certain things, or to under, like, if they're going through something, realize that you're not the only one going through this. And just like you said, like, certain experiences that you're having now, it may not make sense now, but if you just give it time, years down the line, it can end up being an asset for you, and also help you to add value to the world. So anyway, I'm excited about it though.
I'm excited for you because just in this small interview alone, you've let me know that there's a much deeper story within you that really will resonate with a lot of different audiences. And, I want to say, I want to wish you success in advance on that, and trust the process of telling your story. So, some of us might get too scared to say certain aspects of it, but
Mm.
a parting gift from me to you will be that some of the most helpful feedback I've gotten back from my story was that they appreciated how vulnerable I was in it, and it
It's
resonated
hard
with people.
sometimes.
It
It's
is
hard.
because we live in 2025 where people don't really care about the story. They want to find a meme and find a funny story and make a joke about it, but your life is not a joke, right? And it will be to some people, but that's okay. And for those who might not even finish it up front, just realize that when they do pick it up, it'll be the perfect season for them. We don't control that, right? So what you do is tell your story and trust in it and realize that it's going to resonate. And I can't wait to pick it up myself. Last question for you, Yaz. I got to let you go. Last question I have to ask is, in all your years of living, everything that you've seen, all of this identity capital that you've been building, what about your life's path are you most proud of?
Ooh, oh, that's a good one. My life's path that I'm most proud of. I think I know the answer. I'm just trying to figure out how to articulate it. I would say I'm most proud of the fact that I didn't allow all of the, hurtful or traumatic experiences that I went through. I didn't remain the victim in my mind. Like I was determined to make it make sense. And even in the midst of me trying to, and still, trying to figure out my own life and what my role is here, my purpose, like still actually helping other people along the way, and keeping my heart in a posture that is that's still loving, that's still giving, that's still empathetic. But knowing how to, I've had to learn how to set boundaries, but yeah, just, I mean, that I'm still here, honestly, because it's been a fight. It's been a fight. It has not been, I know, like I tell people, like I know I make it look so easy, but it is not easy at all. It's not. Every day is a decision, a set of decisions every day. I gotta fight because like I wanted to go to sleep, but I was like, nope, I gotta show up. I gotta get my makeup done. I gotta come on here with the Black community and Tyrell and tell the peoples. But yeah, no, just that. And of course, there's more to come. Like I am a mom now by how do they say, a bonus mom,
Bonus mom.
which I love, is really cool. Comes with all of the things, but I'm excited for that too. Like to be I am, but to become a mother, and like that's gonna be another journey, and being a wife, and like encouraging, it's really powerful, like especially within the Black community, to have, that as they call it, Black love. Like it's when it's right, you can conquer the world. You can conquer, and a lot of people are fearful of that, and we're seeing that unfold in real time. But it ain't gonna stop. It ain't gonna stop that. We're when we're in a healthy place where we're healing and we're loving each other, there's no stopping it.
And it's the support, like you said. The one thing that you loved about being married is the support system that you end up having. And most entrepreneurs come from households that were unstable, right?
Same.
And,
Yeah.
and statistics say that, right? But it's just like when you create your own level of stability, it does wonders to you, but it also puts you in a position to, when you are being used in the world, you show up as a healthier version of yourself. As a man who's going through therapy and still regularly goes to therapy, right? you
Amazing.
you realize how important it is to instill these boundaries, uh keep your circle safe, your pocket together, right? And it's
Protect. James calls it protect the nest. Protect the
protect the
nest.
nest. Listen,
Yeah,
protect the
yeah, yeah.
nest.
But no,
Listen.
but you're right. In
Yeah.
the pocket, that's, yes, you got to protect it.
Yeah, okay, listen, I'm gonna say, um, altruism is the unselfish regard for the needs and interests of others. The work that you're doing is a thankless, at times, service, but
Yeah.
God sees what you do. There are people in the world that see what you do, and I just want to say, stay encouraged. Thank you for continuing to be the light. Thank you for continuing to be a voice to an unheard population that people don't even know that they need a voice in, and continue to spread that positivity. And like I said, man, I'm a fan, and I'm the ultimate fan. So
Oh my goodness. I'm a
I'm just
fan
listen.
too. I'm a
So
fan
I
of
am
yours
going to
too.
continue to support where and how I can, and I look forward to what the future has for you and this eventual book launch when it is out. No pressure, don't put no pressure on yourself. But when it
No,
does come out, I look forward to
it's
reading it.
gotta happen. It's gotta, that pressure produces the diamonds. So
There
we
you go.
gotta, so
There you go.
thank
There
you,
you go.
Tyrell. This was,
You
I can tell you and I could probably talk for hours.
listen,
We could
easy,
talk for
easy.
hours.
That's why I'm looking at it right now. So I didn't know I was on here that's this long, and I promise to only keep you for 45 minutes. So sorry, everybody out there who's listening in and viewing, but I guarantee you, if you stayed long enough, you got all of the jewels and pieces of information that you needed. But today's guest, Yasmine Arrington Brooks, call it Miss Yazzie 3.0, everything dazzling. Really want to say thank you for being on the back community, and I can't wait to get your story out to the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyrell. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
All right, later.
It's for all of the trials and tribulations. Just look at my mom made it. I said I was gonna change it, I did. And I know that we all destined for greatness. No matter what you've been facing, it's a marathon, no, it's not a sprint. It's for all of the trials and tribulations. Just look at my mom made it. I said I was gonna change it, I did.